Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to check out Justice League Unlimited issue 12 by Mark Waid, Dan Mora and Tamara Bonvillain. DC KO continues in the pages of Justice League Unlimited as the world's heroes continue their evacuation of Earth, overseeing the billions of people heading for the giant arcs and various other ships to escape the planet before Darkseid takes it over. In Gotham, the Atom and Batgirl oversee the city's exodus, citing how it's going in an orderly fashion, but it's very clear that Darkseid has already won, but hopefully the Justice League will find a way to stop him at the heart of Apocalypse. Atom reveals that thanks to the ship's boom tubes and microverse trips, the Earth is about 62% cleared, quipping that they are leaving the lawyers and tobacco executives till last. So far, the tie-ins are doing a great job handling the stakes of evacuating an entire world, and like just last week, the heroes had moved like 34-35% of the Earth's people in the Titans book, and now in this book, we get to see it's up to 62%. It's kind of great that there's an actual progression, and something like this shouldn't take a single issue or happen over like one or two books. It should take, a couple of weeks for the entire Earth to be moved. Atom and Batgirl are alerted to a bank robbery across town, but Atom doesn't think it's a priority in all of this. However, Barbara notes there could be hostages, and it also kind of feels wrong not to check it out. Heading to the bank, they find Polka-Dot Man of all people robbing the bank. The heroes aren't too impressed that the villain is doing all this while the world is about to be destroyed, deciding how will he even spend the money he is stealing. The villain demands that they stay back since they don't understand, but the heroes don't take him seriously, playing scissors paper rock to figure out who will take him out. I haven't seen Polka-Dot Man in a long while, but I do just like that here they've just brought him back and he's just the James Gunn's Suicide Squad version now. It's the exact same costume. It's, the best he's ever looked, really, for a joke villain. So I just kind of like that they just brought him back as that. Atom loses the game he and Batgirl were playing and shifts his size to give himself the mass of a 300-pound man, hitting the villain in the face as he tries to warn them. It's too late as there is a giant explosion thanks to Polka-Dot Man's powers going haywire, and the blast catches Batgirl and Atom, and later the injured heroes are rushed into the Watchtower's medbay, with Blue Beetle wanting the purple healing ray fired up to get them out of critical condition. The heroes know that something is supercharging the villains who they weren't able to seal off in the Phantom Zone, and is beginning to overwhelm the heroes while they try and evacuate the people. Ted doesn't think that they are in a good position because all of their heavy hitters are off in the Omega tournament, but Question knows they are just doing their best, wondering who else they are putting out in the field to help out. Blue Beetle reveals that Fire and Ice are dealing with Heatwave and Captain Cold, but they underestimated the villains thanks to these new power-ups, and it's taking them a while to subdue them. The same can be said for Matter Master and Replicant, who managed to go toe-to-toe with Creeper and Kenan Kong the Superman. I like the idea of these smaller tier villains, the ones the League really underestimated and didn't really think about going after straight, as this was happening, and left till last, and they're all getting power-ups and making them actually formidable against the League, who themselves are also kind of not on their best footing at the moment. They've got the lower tier heroes all left back evacuating people, as Ted Cord said, all the heavy hitters are off in the Omega tournament. It's kind of cool as well because Waid is doing the reverse of what we've seen this book up until now, where he's worked with a unique set of heroes in each issue. They've never been like your usual Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and while they've been there, it's usually been focused on characters like Occult Man or Metamorpho, or just weird and wonderful characters that make up the Justice League, and he's doing that, but with the villains this time around, with people like Matter Master and Replicant and Polka-Dot Man making an appearance. The Question wonders what the point of these villains looting here is, since nothing will be left to spend the money on, and Ted thinks that they are just criminals being criminals, but knows that there might be something more to this. They ask Mr. Terrific what he thinks, and Michael believes Neron is behind all of this thanks to a few years ago, the Demon made deals with a few of Earth's villains to supercharge them in exchange for their souls, and he believes this is what's happening again, and Neron is offering them safe haven in hell. This is a pretty cool way to tie Neron into this event, since Neron's first appearance was way back in the early 90s, I think in Manhunter book or something, where he's, pulling the same old tricks then, offering villains a chance at survival with, upping their powers against the heroes, and now he's kind of doing the exact same thing, and he's offering them a chance at survival, literal survival, the destruction of Earth. He's giving them a place in hell, which of course will probably end up backfiring for a lot of these villains, and they'll end up getting trapped in hell with Neron. Mr. Terrific has a plan of action for this. He's putting together a team of past, present, and future heroes. We finally get to see the new Terrific 10 team that he's made up, and it's the 90s Aquaman, Power Girl, the Warrior version of Guy Gardner, Superman Blue, Qatar Hall, the Gold Hawk, Tim Drake's Batman Beyond from Future's End, Kingdom Come's Alan Scott, Dr. Fate of the 31st Century, and Our Woman from the Justice Legion Alpha of the 853rd Century. This is a pretty fucking solid team of heroes, and even has some surprising inclusions like Warriors Guy Gardner and Owl Woman, a character who doesn't really have a lot of backstory that's been written about her, so she's kind of an enigma, which leads me to believe that was done on purpose. There might be something going on with some of these characters, whether it be a betrayal or something they go against the team, or reveal something later down the line. I know she's probably on there for a reason. Terrific understands that the team must be disorientated thanks to the time being displaced, but since fighting Grodd, they have learned the bigger threats to both the past, present, and future. Michael fills them in on what's going on with the Heart of Apocalypse and how the time stream has somewhat stabilized for now, meaning the 9 heroes are stuck in the present. Power Girl knows that they have to go home sooner rather than later, or history will change if they aren't. But Michael reveals he originally thought that, but nothing is making sense right now as Grodd's Legion of Doom from the past suffered injuries. There is no record, and none of the heroes or villains have any memory of it happening. So did those injuries happen, or have they yet to happen? This is basically Michael saying that time is fucked at the moment, and no matter what they do, it doesn't really seem to matter with the timeline. Just kind of Mark Waid kind of writing an out for like the time travel rules he set up with, the going to the past might affect the future sort of stuff, and if paradoxes I guess makes it a little bit easier to write. And yeah, time is fucked. We've seen it time and time again explained to us that yes, the time is shattered and they need to fix it, and that's exactly what we're doing here. Aquaman believes that it's a paradox stacked on top of paradoxes, and maybe they are all from parallel worlds. Michael does a scan of the heroes, revealing since their universe is siloed off from the multiverse at the moment, they aren't from parallel universes. These heroes are from the past and future, and they're a type of quantum ghost, existing apart from the hero they represent, and they both are and are not real. So if the League is successful and they win the tournament, the team will randomly cease to exist, since their source selves never would realize that they were there, and everything would go back to normal. This is an interesting take on alternate versions of past, present, and future versions of heroes. I love how Wade describes them as quantum ghosts. That's a cool way of looking at it. It's a alternate version of the hero that we know. In this case, let's take Warrior and Guy Gardner. It's the past version of Guy, but he still exists in the future or in the present, but he doesn't remember doing any of this sort of stuff because the quantum ghost is doing it. It's kind of like a copy of a copy. It's such an interesting way to do it, rather than just heroes from the past and future coming to the present and messing up with the timeline that we get time and time again, and adds a little bit more depth to it and makes it more interesting. Explaining all of this gives many of the heroes an existential crisis, since, yeah, of course it would. You've just been told that you don't really exist and will cease to exist in an instant, but they don't know when that instant will be. Michael knows that the heroes in front of him are real though, and he's not letting their time in the present go to waste. So he's got a special mission for them. He tells them to meet him later in the day, so in the meantime, the heroes should meet with some of the other heroes and help with the evacuation and villains. The team goes and does just that, with Warrior going to help Fire and Ice, confronting Ice, who is surprised to see Guy, being this version of him used to date her at some point in time, back when they were on the Justice League International team to be precise. Guy, being the bull-headed jerk he is, immediately thinks that he and Ice are still together, thinking they are even married. But Fire is quick to tell him that they aren't, and he should leave. He tries to talk to Tora, but the hero breaks down crying, knowing that they aren't a thing anymore and she can't see him. Surprisingly, Guy has a moment here where he realizes in his future he must do something to hurt Tora emotionally, or maybe what they had hurt her emotionally, so he decides to leave, apologizing for bothering her. I didn't expect Wade to actually dredge up this relationship in this book of all places, but I love that he had enough foresight for Warrior not to just be a complete jerk and instead use him in an interesting way where maybe he's actually learned something, and we get the book gets to have like a little bit of an emotional moment here as well. As Guy tearfully leaves, Aquaman returns to his future self's quarters on the Watchtower, looking all through his history and what he will do. While looking, he catches glimpses of his family, including his son, who for him was only recently killed by Black Manta. Arthur sees other pictures though, one showing him married with Mera and they have a daughter. Martian Manhunter comes by thinking that Arthur should not be in this room, but he tells him though about his daughter Andy and how she makes him very happy. It's cool that since Wade set up the quantum ghost concept just before, we can have moments like this and not worry about like, oh, him going to the past is going to affect the future and maybe, his daughter is not even born or, something like that. They can have this moment where they actually get to see what they become and what the heroes themselves become in this world. Elsewhere, the Gold Hawk is given a universal translator spell courtesy of Dr. Fate so people can understand him. The hero asks if he really is an ancestor of the hero called Hawkman, and Owl Woman knows that he is a past life of that hero as he perpetually reincarnates, lamenting how the poor man has no idea what is in store for him in his next incarnation. Carter wishes to go home, but Dr. Fate explains that they all do, but they cannot move through the unstable time stream. Fate tells the hero that he can talk about Andrino if it will help him, so he talks about his homeworld and how they were a non-violent race, and those of them who achieved a certain spiritual level were gifted with special sight powers where they could literally see the hopes, desires, and pains of others. Something he can actually see in all of the heroes, and revealing this power actually scares Owl Woman, who demands the hero stay out of her mind since no one needs to know what she's thinking. Now this feels like set up for something, like why would she say that? Why would she say stay out of my mind, you don't need to know what's going on in there? Like that feels like that's set up to something. And as I said before, she's the only team member who actually has quite a big gap in her history. She doesn't have a lot of books written about her. I think she's only appeared in one, and that was an anthology that Grant Morrison wrote. While we're on the subject of Owl Woman, I know someone will comment about it, but no, she is not related in any way whatsoever to Night Owl in Watchmen. She was created by Grant Morrison for a DC 1 Million anthology, and it's just a bit of a sly reference that her costume kind of looks like Night Owl's costume a little bit. It's nothing more than that. They're not related at all. I think Owl Woman is half Quadian, the Weaponeers of Quad, the Green Lantern villain. She's half that and half some other guy. So she's not related to Watchmen in any way whatsoever. Elsewhere, Power Girl records a message to her future self, wishing that she could have met Paige, but she's off in the tournament. The hero knows that they both run hot and are prone to anger thanks to everything they lost, knowing they've lost more than even Superman, since not only did they lose Krypton, they lost their entire parallel reality in the Great Crisis, and all the pain and tragedy was turned to anger. She hopes that Paige isn't as angry as she is, and has found her purpose, but if she still hasn't, she wants her to know that she is living proof of tranquility and how it's achievable. Wade exploring this topic, which, let's face it, has kind of defined a lot of Power Girl's stories, the loss of, her reality, or Krypton, she's very unmoored as a character, because a lot of other characters fill in the spot that she's really meant for. It's interesting that Wade has brought her back, because obviously we've got Power Girl, who in her most recent solo book kind of rectified a lot of those problems, where she let herself adopt the name Paige, and she, found a support network out of the Superman family, and a few other people like Omen. So she kind of had all of this sort of set up with her, whereas this Power Girl doesn't particularly have that. And I thought that was interesting that we have one of each now in this story. Much like how we have two Batman Beyonds wandering around here as well. We've got kind of one of each to kind of cover all the bases. While Power Girl finishes her recording, the League get an urgent message from Airwave, who says that his time-traveling team encountered Darkseid's forces with the Wave Rider at the vanishing point, and now there is a temporal firewall preventing them from coming back. Mr. Terrific shows the message to the gathered team, hoping they all went over their roles and strategy. The team is ready as the boom tube transport is opened, and the team file through into Hell, where they are to find and defeat Neron. Wade bringing back the Neron plot, which actually begun in the Doomsday special written by Dan Waters 2 years ago, and then it was brought up more in the Superman tie-ins in the Absolute Power series. This is a great surprise surprise. I like that we can kind of got a continuing story with Neron here. Neron now runs Hell after taking it back Doomsday, and it's an interesting setting for this team since a lot of the members of the team are either weak to magic or, probably won't do very well in Hell. So I'm looking forward to seeing what pitting them against, the forces of Hell will do. That's a really cool idea. Justice League Unlimited issue 12 finally got around to Wade's story of the leftover time-displaced heroes from We Are Yesterday and how they are factoring into DCKO's tie-ins. I thought the way he explained the time travel shenanigans with the quantum ghost stuff was very creative and didn't rely on past usual, heroes in the future or in the past tropes that we usually see. And the small character moments, especially from Warrior and Power Girl, were really unexpected but very welcome bits that helped get you invested in the plot and these characters a little bit more. Can't wait to see what the team go up against in Hell with Neron and whatever other surprises Wade has filed away for this tie-in. I'm going to give this issue an 8 out of 10.